Alright, it is 9:29 a.m. a Tuesday, November the 9th, 21, and this is the watch list, at least for right now. Oh, it looks like INND came back. For a moment I wasn't able to see anything on E-Trade. I thought maybe they had a ticker change or something, but I will be watching this. Maybe a morning panic bounce play if it looks clean. Ideally, I would have liked it if it maybe tried to break out of its highs, but maybe it's not able to do that. It's just going to be on the watch list. RGBP could be a morning panic bounce play, as well as something off of VWAP if it wants to uptrend, but some of these are up multiple days in a row, so it's going to be a bit harder. This one can be a morning panic bounce play as well. AABB, I'd rather see this one uptrend, but if it looks clean, I might consider that. TGGI is trying to make potentially a move towards the highs here. That could be a breakout setup, especially if it plays off of VWAP. It could be a morning panic bounce play, and I don't really necessarily like these higher priced OTCs, but this one trades according to the crypto market, so I might not be too interested in trading this one, but I will watch it. That's what I have right now. I'm just going to focus on morning panic bounce plays if we get any. Alright, it is 9:49 a.m. and I did have a trade with INND, but I do want to go over RGBP first. I was interested in the morning panic bounce play, as well as this, which is like the double bottom off of this level. I just did not like the way it traded. I never gave it any money, but maybe if it traded a little better, I would have totally have traded this thing. Not just the morning panic bounce play here, but the double bottom. I did like how I was having like a nice and clean drop in the beginning, and then this is what I like to call the yuppie push, where as soon as it looks like there's a level 2 reversal, a whole bunch of people just start like just bidding it up, just pushing it up, hitting the ask with a whole lot of volume, and then a lot of times it comes right back to where the bottom was. But I just didn't like the way this one traded, and then it started being all weird here, but it did do a nice move, and then they would kind of lift off the ask and then make a trade with a spread on purpose so it can break a certain level. So their move wasn't horrible, but it wasn't enough for me to put any money in it. And in theory, I mean, what, it just went from 29 to 30, so that's like, I don't know, 3.5%. That's not even that much range, although it did hit 39 best case, not 39, 31 best case scenario. I just did not like the way this one traded, so maybe if it traded again a little better, I would have bought it, but that's fine. I did like INND more, and I'm actually surprised I got out of this thing at a slight profit. This thing was basically break even, but I somehow still got out of here. It looks like it might actually try to turn around now. I kind of lost patience with it, and on top of that, yesterday it just faded the entire day, so I thought maybe it might try to do the same thing today, but let's see if it tries to break past VWAP. That's always the goal, but I was interested in this one for that morning panic bounce play as well. It was at 9:36 when I went long, I believe, right here, because we had this nice drop right here, went all the way down, it made a wick, and then this candle here, it tried to hold on to it, but then when it dropped here at 9:36 all the way back to the same level, and it held above this level, it didn't wick below it or anything like that. I got in at 9:36, 155, so my entry was right here, and then I was in the setup, I was holding on to it, seeing what it could do, but unfortunately this is one where it didn't work out. 9:37, I got out right when it looked like it was gonna break at the time the day low, which was this 155 level, or 154 if you want to count the very bottom. Right when it looked like it was about to break it, I put a sell order. I got in and out at the same price, but I guess by a tiny percentage, a tiny difference in the price, I somehow ended up profitable. I guess let me just do the math. Right, 309 divided by 20,000, and 1545 was my entry, and my exit was, yeah, dude, that is nothing. That was my, yeah, that was my buy, that was my sell. Just that tiny difference made it profitable, but in theory, I thought I was going to be, having my first red trade in a while, but no, it just didn't really work out then and there, and it did break a little lower. It did hold 15 throughout this entire pattern, but again, because of the way it traded yesterday, just fading the entire day, I had less confidence in holding something or trying again with that in mind. I did get the 150 it's, I guess, what, 158, which is VWAP, but let's see if this thing can try to turn around. I don't think I'll trade RGBP. Maybe if it does another dip and it's higher than these two levels, but I didn't like the way it traded previously. But if it looks better, maybe I'll be more interested in it. Okay, it is 9:57, and I just want to make an update on how I really consider these morning panic bounce plays. It always changes. It's not necessarily the same every single time, and I've had to change a few times, but for right now at least, what I like to look for with morning panic bounce plays is that nice drop, at least 10%. And then once we have that drop, when we have like a big volume candle, and sometimes, you know, you think this is the big volume candle here, but then it makes a bigger one. But when you see that big volume candle, it means that either the bottom is in or the bottom is about to be close, so it's about to happen soon. And I do like it when it finds a bottom, it pushes it all the way up. They're trying to, you know, like all these yuppies are trying to buy it. As soon as they see it, might try to hold level 2. And then what I see a lot right now is that they push it all the way back to the same level. And when I see they push it all the way back to the same level and that level holds, maybe there's a big wall of bidders or something like that, and then it starts to uptrend a little, that's when I really like to take an entry. But sometimes in other markets that is not possible. It just has that downtrend, and then it's a level 2 reversal. All these yuppies are right, and it just literally turns around right then and there. Maybe it has a consolidation candle, but this is the way I'm trading them right now. I was kind of interested in potentially something like this, but again, the way this one trades, it doesn't really offer much opportunity for me, at least, unless I would have to just chase it, and I don't want to do that. But this could be like an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, and then maybe it makes a second higher low. Maybe I can try something here off of VWAP. We do have a big bidder, and it is trying to hold above 30, but I just wanted to make an update there. INND did make another uptrend towards VWAP. It can try to break past it later. You know, unlike yesterday, this thing is doing a lot better trying to hold itself together. No interest here with ILUS. Is it a short setup? Right at the bottoms again. Maybe if it breaks 44, it might be interesting, but it might just make a wick and come back. I'll keep looking for ILUS for a setup like that. If it's going a downtrend, I might be interested in shorting it, but I don't want to, again, just be short right at the bottoms and then it just bounces up. But maybe if it like breaks this 44 level, makes a downtrend, and then it comes back and it's not able to get above 44 again, maybe that will be interesting. Otherwise, I'll probably leave it alone. AABB did have a panic. I actually never saw this one. I don't know if I would have traded it or not. It doesn't look bad, honestly. And here's one where, you know, we have that big volume candle right here. It wasn't the bottom, it still had a whole nother candle. And then we had the big volume candle right here, and then this really meant that the bottom was in already. I never saw this one. I don't know if I would have traded it, maybe. And TGGI, maybe if it does a dip under VWAP. It just broke out of this level right here, but it still has a higher level. But this was a while back. Yeah, this is going to be a top it's going to have to fight over. But it did break this level here. Maybe if it plays off of VWAP, I'll be interested in it. Not just like a baby dip like this, but something that actually turns around over a few candles. Otherwise, that's all I have for right now. There's a lot of potential setups. Alright, it is 10:16. I've been watching this price action for a while. I even had an attempted buy at 10:06 because it looked like it was trying to break out of this range here, which I would call 255, and I was risking in theory 24, but I didn't get my shares executed. And the only reason why I was interested in it way up here instead of something lower like where it's trading now is because there were like some 3 or 4 market makers with like 3 million shares just below it, right? Like 252, I believe. So I thought maybe with those bidders in place, there's going to be a lot of price action towards the up side, and it didn't really do it. It's kind of being weird. It would just downtrend, and then a bunch of those large market makers would flash at the bid, and then it would try to turn around, and then it comes back. So now it's trading all weird, but in theory this thing can, you know, be a consolidation right here and then break towards 252, get in the 253s, and maybe try to break this entire range altogether. It's just weird the way it trades with these big market makers with a lot of size on the bid, and then it kind of gets back to that level, and then it kind of moves somewhere else, and the whole thing just looks weird. But in theory I could try to be in and risk 24, but I just don't like the price action. This was a significant drop, a little. Now we have actually that's new, we have now a big seller at the ask. It just disappeared. Yeah, as you can see, this one is trading weird, but I will make an update and see if this one in theory eventually works. It's not because I hesitated. I did try to take a buy, but you know, the price action just started to look kind of weird and sketchy, but I don't see why this thing can turn around. This thing can totally make a nice move, but I'm not too interested in it anymore. INND actually was considering maybe potentially a dip buy and see if it can try to run towards the rest of the day, but there were too many sellers on the ask, and that has not changed. RJBP just trades weird, and maybe if it was more consistent I would have given it a lot more money. ILUS could try to maybe make a baby dip under VWAP and uptrend the rest of the day. It is still kind of at its highs, but I don't know. This one is kind of weird too. This one's nice. I just ignored AABB because this one is the one that was trading ugly last week, but now it's starting to look a little better. You see, this is what I would be interested in with ILUS. You know, it has that panic, bounce, slight dip under VWAP, and it uptrends, right? And they could try to do that with the other one. I forgot which one it was. They keep moving around too much. ILUS. Maybe, but this one isn't as nice as AABB. That's interesting. Now it's at the bottom. So yeah, I was just thrown off by that price action, but it could have worked out here. You know, it could have totally turned around, and maybe it will turn around from here, but at this point I'm not really interested in it. But yeah, I was just confused because it did look like a nice set of bidders were there. It would move up, and then it would just be too many people selling at this 256 level. That's interesting. I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 10:42. I was a little conflicted with the setup, so I never took it, but in theory I could be in right here at 4551 at the ask, 500 shares. Why? Well, it's at its highs. I'm actually more interested in shorting it, and we had this dip under VWAP, and then, you know, makes this uptrend, it holds VWAP, a higher high, and then it holds VWAP again, but it is a slight higher low from here. And then my risk level would be if it just completely fails and, you know, it gets to 44. So 227 right there is my estimated cost, and if we get to 44, right, that's about $8. That's about as close as it could be to that $8 risk level without trading a weird size. But I just, you know, kind of got conflicted because, you know, I'd rather be short the setup. In best case scenario, let's just say, you know, it gets to the top here, 4589, although it can go higher, right? I mean, right there, that's just $2. I mean, is that really worth it for $2? And I risk, you know, $8. And then it might not even, I mean, it can just get higher, right? It can make a higher shoulder than here and maybe break this level here and just keep uptrending throughout the day. But, you know, I do have more conviction on shorting this setup because INND was pretty similar, right, in that it was trying to hang out near the highs, but it just ultimately failed. So that's why I'm kind of interested in a short set with ILUS, but I thought maybe I could just take a cheeky little buy right here, you know, and go that it's going to, you know, make that shoulder of a head and shoulder, shoulder head, and then a potential shoulder. But maybe I'll just wait for the, you know, setup to play out, if it's gonna play out. I'm not looking at anything too interesting. It's pretty dry out here in the OTC's market, but this is some crazy mess here, and RGBP is also kind of crazy, but I don't see how I'm going to trade something like this, especially just off of VWAP, although it is trying to get to that 22 level now. I'm just not interested in it because it's just floating way above VWAP. In theory, I should have been in maybe around here. The first dip under VWAP besides the morning panic here. That would have been hard. I probably would have been selling here anyway. So yeah, this thing is kind of strange, but it's just nothing that's really clear to me that I want to take long. And I would have liked it if maybe TGGI had a run towards this 255 area and then headed back down, because then I would be interested in buying this, because then it could show that it's actually still able to move towards the upside. And then it could be an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, and then a shoulder. But then having a spike up here, you know, really completes the pattern and makes it more probable. Although I can still try to turn around here too. I just don't like the way this one is trading either. So that's really all I have. Maybe there's going to be no trades today. But, well, I guess beside the one in the morning, however, you know, there are some opportunities, but it's not really there. I'm sure listed stocks are doing better right now. This one was kind of interesting with Tesla, but you know, I don't want to throw $1,000 position when I'm trading $8 risk levels. It's just not something I can do, and it's not like I can buy half of a share of this. So I'll just keep looking, but there's nothing really right now that's just really solid, unless maybe ILUS decides to make a shoulder, and then I wouldn't feel bad if I missed it. And it could be some kind of a short setup from there, maybe. If not, absolutely nothing, which is going to be fine too. Okay, it is 12:43, and this is probably the last update before I'll just make one more, just going over what all of these stocks do by the end of the day when the market is closed. But I actually was interested in it right here, and I was just thinking, looking at a 15-minute chart, you know, I had this downtrend bounce, and then it's back here, and I thought, you know, is it really just going to head even lower and then break this level and head lower below that? I thought that wasn't really much, you know, of something that could actually happen. I thought it could turn around, and it did. I just hesitated, and it did make a move to 31, but this was super choppy. The price action is actually kind of bad with a spread. It's not that bad here, but at one point it was like 31, and then by 37 it's just trading with a spread. But then I was interested in it here, and I did place an order at 12:31, but I never did get executed at 296 because it was 296 by 3, so I didn't want to chase it. So I wanted to just get in at 296, which was at the bid at the time. And as you can see, literally after I placed the order, it was like nothing traded the next 3 minutes, just zero volume. And then it did eventually uptrend, so a person jumped in, you know, in front of the 296 bid, and then some executions at the ask took place. As you can tell, it just doesn't trade with much volume, but it did make a move. Really just dry price action right now. But you know, if this thing offered more volume, or maybe if the spread wasn't as much as it is sometimes, I would probably have traded this one, the morning panic, as well as this. But I think maybe I could have been a little more aggressive and traded this the moment it, you know, it dropped all the way back to the morning panic bottom low. But the way it did it was kind of weird. And ILUS, it did get to that level right where the shoulder is, but then it just kind of just traded it doing nothing. So it just dried up. No interest in trading AABB. Sure, you can say, oh, what about the dip buys? You could have done the dip buys. Not when it's floating off of VWAP. I like when it trades off of VWAP because it's like a nice guideline. I'm not saying it's bad when it does this. I'm just saying that I'm not really good at that. I think it's just too risky for me. But you know, it did do that, and when it broke this level, it was like a big volume candle. So that would have been kind of hard to be a part of, I think. INND, this one isn't looking that bad. It is trying to hang in there, but it could look a lot better, although it could also be a lot worse. Like yesterday, it was just horrible. So yeah, that's really where I'm at. TGGI did do a little thing. It's just really choppy price action. I'm probably just gonna call it off unless I see something really clean in the afternoon, and I'll make an update to see what these things do at the end of the day. Alright, it is it is 2:27 p.m. and unfortunately for me today, unless I trade something else, and I'm not gonna trade unless I see a good setup, today's gonna be my first red day. And I'm gonna be down 2 pennies, okay? 2 pennies. And geez, what? All right, this is definitely gonna require an explanation. But I have a treadmill in my room, and I was just doing a workout, watching the Stocks to Trade podcast, and I've been watching this since I mentioned that thing with the head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, right? So then when it started just trading back and forth like this is like what you can call the OTC Swizzle, where it kind of trades in this channel, and then it either breaks out or it breaks down, right? And then makes a significant move. And something I really like about this is that it just worked with TGGI. So here's the OTC Swizzle, right? Trading back and forth off of VWAP. And this one has a much better daily chart. But, you know, once it broke out of here, and it had a lot of volume, so maybe I would have even missed this because I wouldn't have been too interested, because it would have felt like a chase, or maybe this red candle would have, you know, annoyed me and gotten me out. But, you know, this thing is doing its moves right there, and Stocks to Trade just crashes. And I thought, okay, you know, it worked here with TGGI, just that much more likely that it can work on ILUS today. And I was in just 500 shares, and I did have an $8 risk reward, although, you know, I didn't actually stick to it because it felt like, you know, I was going to be selling into what is the top, and that's pretty much true. But anyway, I was long 500 shares at 458, and that was 147. So right about here, 147. It really looked like it was going to do it right here. So I did hit the ask at 458. I went back to the treadmill. I threw a stop at 441, which is pretty significant right here, 441, because it would have to break VWAP, break the channel, and then even break this little, you know, downwards level here. It would be pretty significant if it were to have done that. I finished my workout. I took a shower. Before I took a shower, I did move my risk just a little, not my risk, my stop just a little higher at 4492, which is still pretty there. It would have been like if it were to downtrend and then even get to this range right here. So I moved the stop there, and then I came back, and it hasn't really been doing much. And it wasn't until later where it was at you know, 222. So wow, I've actually been this setup for a while. This might be a record anyway. 222. Let's look at 222, because that's when I sold, right about here. You know, we actually did hit 458. It actually has 4584 now at the ask. Let's see if I just sold right before the thing works out. That's pretty cool. I just never liked how throughout the entire setup the bid never stacked up. The bid never like really pushed forward and you know, tried to really get people out at the ask and make an uptrend. But you know, it's trying to do something now, which is kind of interesting here. But it is trading with a spread, and that means it can work, but it's just less likely. Let's see, 459. Wow, I think this is going to actually work at this point. I might even be interested in it. That might be a little bit of a chase, because now we have a wall at 46, but at least we have somebody that jumped in on the bid. That's not too bad. Wow, this thing's actually working now. I'm not going to chase it. In theory, I should have been in at 46. You know, if I was going to actually try this again. Let's see if this thing can work. Unless it does something really impressive, then I might try to get in again. But this thing is actually working now. It just took way too much longer. 465, 232, 232.50. I will be up $3 because that was my entry price, $229. So $232, that will be $3.50. Alright, that's cool. It seems to be working so far. I'm sure a lot of shorts are getting pissed because, you know, this level right about here was you know, red to green mark, holding above VWAP. This thing can squeeze a lot of shorts. It's not like a cheap penny stock. It's a 40-cent stock. Even I can short like a $400 position if I wanted to with a small $3,000 short selling account. Yeah, it has a bit of a sprint now, 46.01. Okay, well, I guess I'll write in my journal that the setup worked. I just had to hold even longer, which was already a while because I was in it at 147 and I was out at 222, so I was already in it for about 35 minutes before it started to do this. And yeah, it looks like it's not actually taking 46.01. It's like trading in the middle. That is pretty cool. And I did sell at 222 because I didn't risk my level. And it just felt like it was going to make a new top at the moment. And it did downtrend, but it caught itself. I guess the volume did come back, and now it's doing this. So this is pretty cool, actually. A little salty that I missed it, but you know, that's fine. And it wouldn't have been that bad being in at 46. But let's see if it can do anything from there. I mean, TGGI did a really nice move. It consolidated. I'll continue to watch this. I might even trade it again, but that was the setup, the OTC Swizzle. There is going to be a top here at 46.70. I'll keep watching this, even if I don't trade it again. I'm glad at least I was on the right track. I just had to hold even longer. It didn't work until, you know, 2:30. So what? I would have had to have been almost an hour in the setup. Wow. Alright, I'll make an update. Alright, it is a 4:11. The market has closed, and I want to make an update just going over everything. I think to summarize my ILUS trade is that if I were to sell at the bid, or at least what it says here at 46.15, that would be 230 bucks, and given my entry price at 229, I'd be up $1. Did this setup work? It kind of worked in that it did at least break out of this range. You know, at that 45.96 level, it got to 46. But, you know, did it actually work like TGGI? Absolutely not. It did not work. It didn't offer that much opportunity. Right when I was recording it right here, it was hanging out there, and then it broke under. I guess it just lost its ability. I guess maybe a short seller got angry and just decided to dump more shares to bring it back down. But it is trying to uptrend. It is trying to hold above this level right here. It is trying to make a move, but it's not what I wanted, which was obviously TGGI, which was more ideal. It had a nicer daily chart. I just wasn't really there for it when that one happened. AABB, I did see this potential setup before it happened, and this would have been maybe hard to get into. It did shoot from 22 to 23, so you know, it's not the best range, it's not the worst, like a 4% move. And then this was nice. This was like a confirmed breakout setup, something I could have taken here, but I just wasn't really there when that was happening. Whether I was just not, you know, there because I didn't see it when it happened, or I was just you know, probably just looking at other things. But that was pretty nice. I've neglected AABB. If it keeps trading better, not with that crazy spread it was having last week, I don't see why I shouldn't consider it in the future and keep looking at it. I like how TGGI broke out of this range at I guess give or take 24, and it held above it so nicely. So this can be a potential setup in the future. This could be like a first green day after this breakout here in theory, although it is a bit scary to say something like that. And maybe it can be something that can do something off of VWAP, or maybe even a morning panic bounce play. That's the case with these three stocks. RGBP kind of lost my interest, but it did offer that opportunity, I believe right here, when it had that dip under VWAP, and then it tried again. And I did try to go long at 1231, but there was literally no volume there, and I just wasn't able to get in at the bid. I didn't want to hit the ask. It did work a little bit, put up baby higher low, and then it got one more time towards VWAP before it failed and broke under. I was looking at Tesla. Never you know, was I really interested in trading it. I was thinking of a short setup, but just, you know, just playing around, not really actually thinking that I'm going to consider it, because I have that $8 risk level. Although some of this, some of these setups do kind of offer something that I could have traded. Here was that inverse head and shoulders that I saw shoulder, head, shoulder. And this one actually worked on the stock that's down on the day, so that's actually pretty cool to see. And I could have maybe have taken a trade here, 29 or 30, and then I risk the wick, which would be 26. So I guess I could just trade one share. It's not my proper $8 risk, but you know, this might have thrown me off where it looks like it's trying to round off right here, and then it heads back down, and then it does it later. So I don't know how I would have traded it honestly, but that is interesting. And INND unfortunately did fade, but I'm not going to be short something like this, you know. And even though yesterday it was at like 20, I'm not going to be short something this small. I'm just not interested in it. So yeah, unfortunately, just a tiny red day by 2 pennies. I'm very happy that I broke my streak of green trades with a red trade that wasn't like $10 or $100 or something crazy like 40. It was just a tiny 32-cent loss. Just 2 pennies red on the day, but I think a lot of lessons were learned. I should have definitely tried RGBP when it was doing this move right here, and I have been less hesitant. AABB, I don't mind missing this breakout because it's floating above VWAP. I just don't like it that much because it's kind of scary, because you could be like, oh, okay, you know, this is a dip right here, and then it goes up a little, and then it makes a further dip, and you're like, well, geez, and you know, you don't have that guideline of VWAP to really help. So that's all I got for today. Pretty good. I need to be more aggressive, but I did do a pretty good attempt trying that INND setup right there. A lot of room for improvement, but I'm pretty happy overall. I need to be more aggressive on some setups.